How do we save Jesus? I've never seen a master from antiquity take so much abuse and become such a horrific character in the view of the world. Well, yeah, okay. How do I qualify what I just said? How do we save Jesus from the abuse that his teaching is getting right now? My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the channel, and I'm going to talk about that in this video. What I want you to know is that I am not a Christian, and I believe that Jesus, the Buddha, and Lao Tzu, are you familiar with their works? Buddhism, the Dhammapada, Taoism, the Tao Te Ching, from Lao Tzu. Masters from antiquity that taught something that sound different, but they're processes that when you work it out mentally, it's a self-healing process to help you grow and emerge and rise above the physical experiences that are hurting us and that are hurting our life. That's what they are. And they sound different from each other. If I were to read something from here, from the Tao Te Ching, it's going to sound cryptic. If you're not familiar with the work, I'll just talk through it real quick here. There's something here that says, free from desire, you realize the mystery. Caught in desire, you see only the manifestations. This needs to be worked out in the mind. You can read that and go, oh, that's pretty. It's beautiful. There's something mentally interactive in that verse right there. Can you extract the mentally interactive understanding? Buddha, the Dhammapada, this is the same thing. The verses in here, they're cryptic. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. It is founded on our thoughts. It is made up of our thoughts. If a man speaks or acts with an evil thought, pain follows him as the wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. That one's actually not very cryptic, is it? You can kind of figure out fairly quickly what that one means. However, we don't know sometimes what depth to take it. Jesus' material is going to get us to the exact same place if we interpret it in the same way. And there is one interpretation process. There is no differences in reality from people in the world. They have different local beliefs and different religions, but if you step back far enough and look at the planet as a whole and say, I didn't come from any of those, well, I'm looking from the outside. They've all got something going on. They all believe they're right. I don't see what they're really doing there. I see a lot of similarities. I see some differences. But I don't see that I would look at anyone and go, oh my gosh, you're right over the others. You all look the same. Within that region, though, I see people that were raised and born there. They were taught that. They believe that. They never learned anything different. That they are the ones who are the most convinced that what they have is correct above all else's. When meanwhile, they don't even know what anybody else has. They're the least aware and the most confident about being accurate. That's kind of mind-boggling. Jesus and the Buddha and Lao Tzu all taught that same thing. They're different styles. The way that they're taught, the Buddhism and Taoism are meant very purposefully. This is about you. This is how you came about. This is why you are hurt. This is how you must rectify your life. This is how you find inner salvation and inner peace. Jesus is the same lessons nested in different verbiage. However, they've changed it from saying you must look inward and do it. They've changed it to you look outward and ask God to do it. When actually the God is the higher self, the higher being. When you translate it back in, everything fits. You're still talking to God. You just change that to your higher being yourself. You're dealing with your own mind. That's going to happen. Bart Ehrman, he's got this I saw a video recently that just makes me realize that he doesn't understand this interpretation process either. One of the things that he mentioned was that he's fully convinced that Jesus was an apocalypticist. And that is because Jesus taught that the end is near, that the end times are coming, be ready and all of that. And that is what is taught. And if you don't interpret it, that's what it sounds like, and that's what people go with. They're coming anytime. The end times, the return of Christ. Everybody has a Buddha nature in Buddhism. When you seek enlightenment, you're using your Buddha nature to do that. When you find enlightenment, you are the Buddha. That is just a state of being. It doesn't mean anything different. In Western civilization, we've got kind of this wrong idea about it because we grow up thinking Jesus is that way. I got a brother one time that told me, the Tibetans think Buddha's going to come back and all that. And I'm like, what? What he did is he just translated what he knows of Christianity, put Buddha in place, and said that those guys, they've got it all wrong. And you're like, man, you don't know anything about that. Leave it alone. Don't talk about other religions, for crying out loud. Yeah. It's not that way at all. But everybody, that's it. You have a Buddha nature. There's a return. You're looking for that. In Jesus material, it's the same way. It's held in a way that makes it sound to the masses like something is coming in the future. But the end is near any time the person goes on the journey and says, I want to experience a rebirth. And that's a psychological rebirth. That is, I got a mind and a life that is frazzled and hurt and painful, out of control. I want to manage that. All these will take you to that place if you use it in that way. Jesus material is used outward. And at the same time that happens, it is put in the hands of, instead of a natural mental internal process, it's put into the hands of faith and a supernatural something that's out there that people have more of a propensity to believe in. So that you look at how popular Buddhism is, and it's pretty big, but it's not like Christianity or some of the other religions. I guess we can get at the size. The size is not an indicator of the right thing. It is absolutely not. I think often it's the indicator of the wrong thing when the masses are all clumped up like that doing one thing at any rate. Okay, so the end times are near. Anytime somebody grabs this and goes, that's my hero's journey right there. I recognize Christianity as a carrier vehicle for the masses that gives them something to hang on to. But as I become the seeker, I turn that inward. I take Jesus's teachings and, if I want to seek emptiness like Buddha would teach, or what did I say earlier? There's a karma one that actually, what do we know about karma? Karma is the idea that there's some sort of a reciprocity in conduct, in actions, in the energy. And as you learn Buddhism, you realize it's not tit for tat physical. It's not, I give you something, so I get something back. And now I have some expectation of this or that or anything. It's not about the physical world. It's about something that is heartfelt. It is something that comes from an energy place that creates your life conditions along those same lines. So the purity and all of the things that you're doing, all of that comes from handing something to somebody because it's the last one while you're thinking, oh God, yeah, take it, you big baby. That's the problem right there. It's not the physical act. It's the energy act that is the issue. All of them are that way. The return of Christ is anytime somebody says, man, I'm going on the path. It's my Christ nature. It's my Buddha nature. It's my enlightened nature. It's my before getting hurt nature. It's my nature of, I feel okay. All of that is in there. Okay, so I don't want this video to go too long. What I want to say is that without going in and interpreting Jesus materially and the other stuff, I don't see Jesus as what the Christian view is. However, I can also look at this material and there's diversity in interpretation in all religious material. There's a couple of different branches, and then it kind of maybe out in the field, it kind of branches out a little bit more, but not very officially. You get to Christianity and something different, radically different happens. It just branches and splits and splits and splits and splits. And if you look at a Christian group over here and a Christian group over there doing different things, you would look at them and go, what common value systems do they even share? They don't even look alike. What the hell is that religion? Is that a way of being? Or is it an excuse for being? What happened? And I'll tell you exactly what happened. The Roman Paul told Christians that if you believe Jesus is born of a virgin, is the Son of God, died on the cross to save you from your sins, and rose 3 days later, and you worship him as your Savior, accept him into your heart, you're a Christian. You're going to heaven right there. It just became the shallowest religion on the planet. There is no part in Sermon on the Mount or Sermon on the Plain or anywhere in Jesus material where the words uttered are, just worship me and I'll take care of this. I'm going to sit here in the Sermon on the Mount and lay out all these verses, but guess what? Just ignore all of them. If you just worship me, what is that right there? That is idol worshiping. Everything is idol worshiping. If you're worshiping There's something there that is a symbol, and you're worshiping this symbol that represents something else. You're not, I mean, you might have a statue of something there. I don't know that they're thinking that that statue is the God or that that represents the God in a bigger, sort of a thing. No, yeah, I don't know. That's a long time ago, but maybe a little of both. Some people might have thought that was it, and some thought it was just representative of something else. At any rate, that's gone. You get rid of the idols. We don't worship idols anymore. We worship the one true God. What did you do? All you did was get rid of the statue. Shouldn't religion say, here is God's word, or here's Jesus's lessons. It is incumbent upon you to follow Jesus's teachings. That would look a lot different than somebody who says, I'm a Christian because I worship Jesus. Now I do whatever. Jesus is happy with me. I worship him. This is so broke that suddenly the religion becomes what the individual is. And that's what we're seeing now. That's what happened in Christianity. The Catholics messed it up. They got greedy wanting members and said, you know what? Yeah, you just got to believe. That's all. Just worship him. Come on. Yeah, come and join us. They got support. And they created the religion that we see today that you can't even recognize. And people, I mean, yeah, oh my God, it's a mess. There's nothing worse. I see a few things now with the Pope running around doing things, trying to make things better here or there. And you want to just say, why don't you just admit what you did? You know. Yeah. Jesus is a monomyth. Jesus is called as the Son of God, has supernatural powers, travels with 12 selected people, disciples, and instructs us to seek the kingdom of heaven within. King Arthur is selected as the only one who could extract Excalibur, travels with Merlin for supernatural, travels with the Knights of the Round Table, and seeks the Holy Grail. They're the same template. One of them is being called real. Here, do this, and due to fear, live this one, and this is the real one. And this one is not the idol worship. When all you did was take out the statue and created an idol to worship. You can do what Jesus says. You can do what the Buddha says. You can do what the Tao Te Ching says, but you have to interpret them psychologically. I've got other videos on that. Jesus was on a par with them, turned into something supernatural and given idol status. That people say, we're not idol worshiping him and that one's real. It's a... Yeah, you can't get through. How do we save Jesus' teachings? They're there. I run into trouble. I get Christians to get angry at me for making sense out of it. They want things read. This is what I run into. They will say, yeah, you don't do that. You read it, and they'll throw a verse or two at you that is not interpreted, that supports their view. You could throw a bunch of other verses at them that it's like, okay, if you're going to read it literally, then what about these other things? How come I have to wash the inside of my cup as well as the outside? Is Jesus teaching me to do the dishes? Is there something nested in there, or am I supposed to read them literally, for crying out loud? Blessed is the poor? What am I supposed to do? Yeah, they'll leave that stuff alone. Suddenly, it's not working anymore. When you go to an interpretation process, all of that conflict goes away. It's not there anymore. But but the supernatural goes away. In fact, if you know those stories, there's a blessed are the poor, and there's one that's blessed in the poor in spirit. Gospel of Matthew, Gospel of Luke. Differences. Sermon on the Plain, Sermon on the Mount. Somewhere in there. At any rate, they're the same thing. There is no difference. When you play them out in the psyche, it means this space up here, your garden, your world, your realm, your vineyard. Whatever they're using it as an analog at that point in time, this is the space up here that belongs to you. And it all translates up there. So when you do that, it all works. And then poor in spirit, devoid of, empty of all that angst, all that stuff that we've accumulated. We're seeking emptiness. We're seeking to not judge things. We're seeking to let go of the stuff that we're clinging on to. All of them are going to interpret in that same way. If you treat that as a physical verse, but what do people do? Do they try to be poor? They justify being poor. Well, I'm sure there's evangelicals saying, here, yeah, be poor. Give me your money. I need another Learjet to spread God's word in the Gulf of Mexico. Anyway. So, yeah, we see that they are the same, but they have to be interpreted that way. That they're meant to be translated and worked through mentally by the individual of their day in a pre-technology culture where this is what they had to do throughout the day. If you can put yourself in that position where you're just walking around all day long and there is no radio, you hear voices singing maybe in the distance, something like that, but by and large, talking and thinking is what there was. Yeah, I think these were big stories, and that they had that there's an impact. There's things in there that are to help an individual grow and wire their brain. By the time you hear something weird and go, oh, what does that mean? And you keep working. Oh, I got it. You're actually wiring neural connections as you're doing that. And by the time you get done figuring that out, you don't know it academically because somebody told it to you. You know it experientially because you wired it into your brain by having to figure it out. It's a different process. I want to emphasize that what is in here are going to be common spiritual teachings. Let's do an experiment for a second. Just think about your own life for a second. What I'm going to do is use a modern day example. Imagine a time in your life, if you can, or if you've had one of these, or maybe you have one now, where there's something you're holding on to that is just really an issue. It burns, it seethes, it's between you and somebody else, and it has to be resolved. And not until something happens and you finally get over a hump or something like that, there's some sort of a resolution, there's a freedom from it, there's this, oh my God, that's better. Now your life is better, things flow better, you have a better experience. Have you ever had anything like that? Or or on the verge of something like that, maybe? Sometimes a lot of us are. I've had that happen quite a bit where it's like, oh, I got a lot of issues from my past. And as you work through the resolution, I would be like, oh, boy, does that feel good to have that. I'm no longer fettered by that in life. I feel good. Oh my gosh. My life is better. I want a better life. Now, why would you go to the altar to leave a gift? You want God's good graces. If you go to the altar to leave a gift, and when you're there, you remember you have aught against your brother, don't give your gift. Don't look for the good graces. Set your gift down. Go resolve the ought first. Then come back, and your Father who sees in secret will reward you in secret. Do you see that? Turn it inward. It's the same thing. Just they take that, flip it outward, put it on analogs, and let it fly. It's the same teaching. And as we get done analyzing everything and going through it, what it really comes down to, the understanding of is that when we started out in life, we begin to have experiences. We process those experiences and we hold them in our memory with an emotional charge. And that right there is the seed for something that continues to grow and continues to emerge. And that the only way to change that growing and emerging cyclical pain that we're experiencing as life goes by, regardless of time or going from one relationship to another. It's like, oh, yeah, it's different at first. And then, oh, my God, same thing. What is it? Yeah, we're bringing stuff with us that we don't recognize. And we fit there. But it doesn't mean that the other person doesn't have a part in it. They're a trigger, but we belong to that situation. So we have to use those situations to look inward, to see what we've got going on, to change our own perceptions, to change how we feel about things that we're holding from our past, which changes the way they reside in us, which changes the way life experiences. And that is what is nested at the template level. I think I've almost deviated here a little bit. Do you see what I'm talking about, though? If we go back to the Jesus story, you're at the altar to leave a gift. Why would you do that? Because you want God's good graces. Think about that. I'm going to the altar to see God, and I'm leaving something there. I love you, God. Please grace me and my family. Please help me. Please feed me. Please bring water. Please make my animals healthy. Please, bless my crops. Please, all of those things. We're looking for a better life. That's why you are looking to God. And while you're doing that, you remember that you have there's some issue you have. Remembering this is not the physical world. It's the mental world. It's a deeper world. It's that stuff that's stored up here. You go resolve that, and then your Father who sees in secret, what does that mean? Will reward you in secret. It means that it happens automatically. This is the mechanism of change right here. the emotional state of the memory that is acting out and hurtful has to change. And that's difficult. That comes through forgiveness. But forgiveness, actually, you don't have to forgive the other person. What you have to do is understand that this has to change. The forgiveness will happen as a result of this. If you forgive the person and you're successful at it, that means you've changed your mind. If you forgive the other person and it's not, and you still are angry, it's because there's something up here. This is the real mechanism right here. This. Don't even worry about forgiving anybody. Worry about making sure that this is not holding something that is anger, hatred, shame, that kind of stuff, because that is what is hurting you. That is a part of you. It's no longer about the other person. It is about us trying to grow and realizing that we were given certain things along the way that we must now find a way to let go of. You know, the ability to act any way you want to goes away. This becomes a very spiritual, I'm going to be a Buddha-like kind of a person, a monk, a monastic, very loving, kind, peaceful, global, to all. I wish the best to everybody. That's what you become. You cease to be the divider. Jesus nested that in his teaching. That it was all in there. I don't know that Jesus existed or not, or any of them. This material is in the background and it shows up all over the place. It continually repeats, but you have to understand how to read it conceptually and interpret it. And then it opens up. But right now there are so many different denominations. People, like with guns and camouflage, and, they got Jesus coming back wearing, camouflage flag jackets and carrying AK-47 to shoot. Yeah, what the hell happened to Jesus? Whew. And I ran into this recently. There are people, as I talk about this, that as you're trying to figure it out, there are people that are so hurt against it that they get hostile at you for suggesting Jesus was a good guy, because they don't understand what you're doing, what I'm doing. They see that global picture out there and go, yeah, what is the matter with you? Jesus is going to come back and kill everybody. And you're like, no, that's not it. So we're kind of stuck with Jesus. He's gotten so much baggage. It's difficult to talk about him on spiritual terms. You got to be the right kind of person that understands what's going on and isn't emotionally all caught up in it and angry about it. You got to find peace with it. And people that scream and yell at you that they've got peace, cause and effect. Words don't mean anything. What's driving it? I hate all of you gay people. You gay people should not. Yeah. What are you hiding? Nobody should have abortions. You should have your kids and take care of them, and whatever happens to them, happens to them. Why? They'll save life, but then you watch the rest of the actions and it's like, you're not about saving life. You're about having those kids and saying that that's what it is. There's something else. There's other things driving us. We need to see that. Once we are seeking and knocking at that level, we step back and look at the globe and go, okay, I got it. There's one reality that everybody works with, but these people are so messed up and they're so tribal, they don't get that. So they each kind of have their own thing where it's there for any time, anywhere in the world. Somebody finds it, they go, hey, I turned this inward and this is okay. Oh, and you know what? This is okay. Oh, and the Bible's okay. Oh, and I got what's going on. Yeah, the Greek myth, the Roman myth. I see it. I see it. I see the template. Anyway, all right. I just want to say that about Jesus. I think Jesus has some great material. You got to know how to read him, and you can't be attached to it in a positive or a negative way. You got to treat Jesus like he's a Buddha. Somebody didn't exist. It's a body of work. You don't worry about Jesus. That's it. Forget Jesus. Read the lines and interpret them until they're interactive. That's what Jesus is for, or Buddha's for, or this is for. They are not to worship and follow. That's to start with. Once you realize that they're telling you, this is your guru, do this. This is your guru, do this. I don't have the Bible here. This is your guru, do this. But you have to interpret it. The Bible has a style that is different than myth or the spiritual, inner-looking spiritual teachings. The outward-looking, invoking supernatural and all of that. That's where it goes off the rails. And then people just claim whatever they want. Yeah, that it becomes something so crazy that it's just insane. And then, yeah, there's no religion in the world that tells you, yeah, this is our founder, just worship him. Man, they tell you, Muslims go pray 5 times a day. Jews have to go, pray. Everybody has rules to follow. Christianity, it's like, they're optional. They're in the Bible. As long as you worship Jesus, you good. All right. I just want to say that. Love one another. See you in the next video.